Bitter criticism. We criticize everything here. Every. No, we have no piety. We have no pity. No pity to no one. Understand? So yeah. Milu is getting trouble. I don't know where. Milu is always seeking for trouble. Anyway, I was just reading this timeline from the NATO problems. NATO has problems too, but I will just make a brief comment here. We have this politician in Chile who is in jail. Unfortunately, he is in jail. He is innocent. The charges are just I forgot now. Law. I forgot now. What's going on is I forgot. Law. When you have a politic prosecution from in the justice, I just forget. This is I will try to remember. Well, Daniel Jadue is innocent, but is in prison. Anyway, and what Daniel Jadue says about NATO and about war is that all these countries, they need war to produce weapons, to destroy weapons and keep making war and so on, is very profitable, maybe maybe it's one of the most profitable business, war, weapons. Lawful, I don't remember now. Lawfare, yeah, lawfare. Lawfare, but I don't understand this word. Law because of law, and fair. I don't understand the composition of lawfare. Like fair to buy things. Yeah, you buy things. You buy the law. Yeah, the people, the imperialism, oligarchy here in Chile just bought the law again in a fair against Daniel Jadue, and Daniel Jadue is in jail now, unfortunately. Anyway, so there's no more there's no future for Chile, but just learning English and go somewhere else, to Sweden maybe. The world is crazy, I don't know where to go. Maybe I'm going back to Brazil. Anyway, I was resume what I'm just start reading on the street, which is about NATO expansion, a new detailed timeline. Yeah, new detailed timeline. That's it. This is an article. Maybe Pepe Escobar did this. It's nice. Look, I was in the year 2027. So right now is ended up like Brzezinski. Without Ukraine, Russia ceases to be a Russian empire. What? This was in 1997. Without Ukraine, Russia ceases to be an Eurasian empire. I had no idea what's going on. What was that? Anyway, 1998, George Kennan, quote, "I think it is the beginning of a new Cold War. There was no reason for this whatsoever. No one has threatening anybody else. This explanation will make the founding fathers of this country turn over their graves. Of course, there's going to be a bad reaction from Russia, and then the NATO spenders will say that we always told you that is how the Russians are, but this is just wrong. 1999, NATO invasion of Yugoslavia. In 1999, not Prince, not Prince invasion of Yugoslavia, unfortunately. But you know, Prince hit, it was previous to the 90s, I guess. I don't know when anyway. NATO invasion of Yugoslavia. NATO represents European security and can supersede international law. Henry Kissinger warned that this transformation of NATO from a defensive alliance into an offensive alliance contradicted our repeated assurances to Russia that they had nothing to fear from a NATO expansion. You know, I'm not an specialist in geopolitics, but I guess NATO invaded Yugoslavia because there was the only communist country remaining, isn't it? So Russia, the Soviet Union was no more, and Yugoslavia left. So that's it. That's why they invaded Yugoslavia. NATO represents European security and can supersede international law. Yeah, Henry Kissinger. Anyway, NATO occupies Kosovo. NATO obtains UN mandate to occupy the Kosovo region of Yugoslavia under the specific condition of upholding Yugoslavia's territorial integrity. Use it as a venue for NATO base in the Balkans and to change realities on the ground. On the last day of the year, Boris Yeltsin steps down and handed presidency over his Prime Minister Vladimir Putin. This was important. Look, on the last day of the year, Boris Yeltsin steps down and handed presidency over his Prime Minister Vladimir Putin. 2001, the U.S. announced it will unilaterally withdraw from the 1972 A&B Treaty in order to develop strategic missile defense, a preemptive counterforce capability against Russia and China. So, you know, as you can see, the hegemon always tried to destroy all communist countries. All communist countries. Can you see? Just to make more profits for the rich. You know, that's the sad part of history of the 20th century. Capitalism. They are just trying to make money for the rich. That's it. The plutocracy. And nowadays, what we can say nowadays? This is the Inside Russia page, Inside Russia channel on YouTube. They are just they have a lot of money, you know. This is kind of a creepy guy. I'm sorry, but this is like a Russian refugee with a lot of money, you know. And all this money came from the empire, of course, from the hegemon. This guy, of course, he speaks very well English, but the things he said inside Russia, there is not accurate. You know, he's just talking propaganda. I mean, U.S. propaganda. I'm not. I'm just reading. Well, maybe anyway. Who knows? You know, everybody believes the propaganda they want. Maybe Russia is under trouble. Maybe it's not all fine. I can see I can see the preoccupation, you know, the worry that everybody, Maria Zakharova, I don't remember the foreign minister, I don't remember now. Even Medvedev, they are all worried. So Russia is not doing perfectly, you know. It's not doing absolutely fine. But anyway, And but I guess they have to keep trying, because the world is a nightmare for everybody, right here in Chile, in Africa, everybody, everywhere. I don't remember, Peskov maybe. uh, I will see it later. 9/11. Putin is the first foreign leader to contact George W. Bush, offer sympathy and support, provided important intelligence and logistical network support for the invasion of Afghanistan. I will read again. 9/11. Putin is the first foreign leader to contact George W. Bush, offer sympathy and support, provided important intelligence and logistical network support for the invasion of Afghanistan. 2004. Color revolutions. The U.S. promoted successful coups around Russia's periphery. Ukraine and Georgia. Orange Revolution in Ukraine. Popular demands for democratic reforms and tackling corruption were hijacked by international NGOs, NED, Freedom House, USAID, and American Creation, a sophisticated and brilliantly conceived exercise in Western branding and mass marketing, a postmodern coup d'etat. CIA-sponsored Third World uprising of Cold War days adapted to post-Soviet conditions. And American Creation, a sophisticated and brilliantly conceived exercise in Western branding and mass... Well, I'm gonna listen this myself again. Single economic space, 2004. Proposal by Russia to include Ukraine, Belarus, and Kazakhstan, denounced in the West as an expression of imperial ambitions that had to be resisted. Uh, 2005. Common Spaces Agreement committed both Russia and EU to preventing new dividing lines, regional cooperation. 2007. Munich Security Conference. Putin summarizes Russia's concerns about one center of authority, one center of force, one center of decision making, that NATO has put its front lines forces on our borders. Against whom is this expansion intended? Condoleezza Rice mocked Russia's concerns about the U.S. placing 10 interceptive missiles in Eastern Europe. Purely ludicrous, and everybody knows it. Within a few years, the number had risen to several hundred. Well, I'm not seeing Milu anyway. Milu, venga, aquí. Milu. Milu is there. I'm not sure if he run after someone. I'm sorry. Milu is just like that. Is how he makes friends. Is how we met, just fighting each other. Placing. That's it. 2008, Moscow proposed new pan-European security architecture opposed by West, as feared it will weaken NATO. NATO Bucharest Summit. Quote, "We agreed today that these countries, Ukraine and Georgia, will become members of NATO. A Gallup poll taken in Ukraine at the time revealed that 46% valued closer ties to Russia, while only 10% favored closer ties with the US over Russia." Ambassador William Burns, quote, "Not only does Russia perceive encirclement and efforts to undermine Russia's influence in the region, but it also fears unpredictable and uncontrolled consequences which will seriously affect Russian security interests. Russia is particularly worried that the strong divisions in Ukraine over NATO membership, with much of the ethnic Russian community against membership, could lead to a major slip involving violence and at worst civil war. In that eventually, Russia will have to decide whether to intervene, a decision Russia does not want to have to face. Ukrainian entry into NATO is the brightest of all red lines of the Russian elite. Not just Putin. I have yet to find anyone to views Ukraine in NATO as anything other than a direct challenge to Russian interests. Today's Russia will respond. Challenge to Russian interests, today's Russia will respond. British Ambassador Roderick Lynn. It was stupid on every level. If you want to start a war with Russia, that's the best way of doing it. Fiona Hill. She warned Bush that bring Ukraine and Georgia closer to NATO as a provocative move that will likely provoke empty Russian military action, but ultimately our warnings weren't heeded. I missed this word, look. Shut up, Tommy. I guess Tommy is... how to say it? I forgot now, like Stalin, Joseph Stalin was... Tommy's imagining thing, but you never know. It's late at night here. We are not in Ukraine, but there's trouble all around the globe. I forgot all the wars. How Stalin was? He was paranoid. Yeah, Tommy's paranoid. Anyway, Angela Merkel, Russia will view this as a declaration of war. 2010, Moscow proposed EU-Russia free trade zone to facilitate the greater Europe from Lisbon to Vladivostok. Dismissed it as sinister plot to divide the West. President Yanukóvytch approved a bill that commenced Ukraine's neutrality, intention of becoming a permanently neutral state that does not participate in military blocs. You have to remember President Yanukóvytch. Where is he now? And was such a great idea, Intention of becoming a permanently neutral state that does not participate in military blocs. I don't know this guy Yanukóvytch, but such a nice idea, such a great idea for the whole world. That's it. Yanukóvytch, he was the genius. Nobody listened. People should make high schools with his name, College Yanukóvytch. Yanukóvytch Social Science College faculty. What about that? Yanukóvytch College, yeah. 2013, the EU pressured Ukraine to drop its neutral stance and offer a deep and comprehensive free trade area instead. What the EU? Can you see that? This is hard material, 2013, the EU pressured Ukraine to drop its neutral stance and offered the deep and comprehensive free trade area instead. Effectively an ultimatum to choose either the West or Russia. Russia countered with trilateral EU-Ukraine-Russia agreement, which the EU rejected out of hand. The times for limit sovereignty are over in Europe. Hillary Clinton, on the Eurasian Economic Union, we are trying to figure out effective ways to slow down or prevent it. 2014, National Endowment for Democracy, NED. Ukraine is the biggest prize. Putting my fine himself on the losing end, not just in the near abroad, but within Russia itself. Coup. Victoria Nuland, quote, the US had invested almost $5 billion since 1991 to assist Ukraine in achieving the future it deserves. Nuland caught deciding who should be in the new Ukrainian government and who should be kept who should be kept out at a time when Yanukóvytch was still the lawful president of Ukraine. Quote, the most overt coup d'etat in history. Quote, in 2014, the United States backed an uprising in its final stages, a violent uprising against the legitimately elected Ukrainian government of Víktor Yanukóvytch, which was pro-Russian. Crimea, Vladimir Putin, they cheated us again and again, made decisions behind our back, presenting us with completed facts. That's the way it was with the expansion of NATO in the East, with the deployment of military infrastructure at our borders. They always told us the same thing. Well, this doesn't involve you. Vladimir Putin's speech, quote, after the revolution, the Bolsheviks, for a number of reasons, may God judge them, added large sections of the historical south of Russia to the Republic of Ukraine. This was done with no consideration for the ethnic makeup of the population, and today these areas from the southeast of Ukraine. Then, 1954, a decision was made to transfer the Crimean region to Ukraine, along with Sevastopol, despite the fact that it was a city of Union subordination. This was the personal initiative of the Communist Party head Nikita Khrushchev. Maybe, I guess, the communist leaders back then, they didn't thought about the end of USSR, you know. They just divided. They was planned to take all Ukraine by Russians, you know, maybe just for administration purposes, I guess. I have zero idea, actually. Henry Kissinger, quote, if Ukraine is to survive and thrive, it must not be either side's outpost against the other. It should function as a bridge between them. Any attempt by one wing of Ukraine to dominate the other, as has often been the pattern, will lead eventually to civil war or breakup. Washington's planned seizure of Russia's historic, legitimate warm water naval base in Crimea failed. Washington's reference to the sacred principle of territorial integrity, in accordance with international law, was unconvincing, as the West's rules-based international order had introduced the right to self-determination as a competing principle to territorial integrity. It was therefore problematic to make a convincing legal case for why the secession of Crimea was different from the secession of Kosovo. Approximately 75% of Ukraine's naval personnel defected. What happened, Mursi? Huh? You had problems? Huh? Do you have any problem in Kosovo, Mursi? You know, Mursi over here, she's the most... she's the best guard I have, you know? Well, I don't know, Tommy is always fighting, but Mursi understands that I need protection, you know? Mursi is my best guard. And that's it. Oh, I just said my... So, this is my agent, yeah. So, don't do nothing against Mursi. Yeah, I kind of I expose myself. Yeah. Uh, it was therefore self-determination as a competing principle to territorial integrity. It was therefore problematic to make a convincing legal case for why the secession of Crimea was different from the secession of Kosovo. Approximately 75% of Ukraine's naval personnel defected to Russia or quit to the Ukrainian Navy. Stephen Walt, quote, "The real question, however, is why Obama and his advisors thought the United States and the European Union could help engineer the ouster of a democratically elected and pro-Russian leader in Ukraine and expect Vladimir Putin to go along with it. In accordance with the rules-based international order, NATO countries refer to liberal democratic norms to exempt themselves from constraints imposed by international law." 2015 Minsk II Agreement. Ukraine, Donbass, Germany, France, Russia agreed to pursue diplomatic reform for Donbass autonomy, never pursued. Victoria Nuland described Angela Merkel as defeatist. John McCain referred to it as Moscow bullshit. Mikhail Gorbachev, quote, NATO's eastward expansion has destroyed the European security architecture as it was defined in the Helsinki Final Act in 1975. The eastern expansion was a 180-degree reversal, a departure from the decision of the Paris Charter in 1990, taken together by all the European states to put the Cold War behind us for good. Russian proposal, like the one by former President Dmitry Medvedev, that we shouldn't sit down together to work on a new security architecture, were arrogantly ignored by the West. We are now seeing the results. 2019, the US unilaterally withdrew from the INF Treaty. Russia demanded that the US not place missiles in Ukraine, as they had done in Poland and Romania. 2021, the UK signed a naval agreement with Ukraine. NATO pushed the prospect of membership for Ukraine. Quote, "We reiterate the decision made at the 2008 Bucharest summit that Ukraine will become a member of the alliance. Russia sent the US a draft treaty outlining the conditions to restore security and stability in Europe. President Biden responded, 'I don't accept anyone's red line.' 2022, Vladimir Putin, quote, 'Listen attentively to what I am saying. It is written into Ukraine's doctrines that it wants to take Crimea back by force if necessary. This is not what Ukrainian officials say in public. This is written in their documents. Imagine that Ukraine is a NATO country and starts these military operations. What are we supposed to do? Fight against the NATO bloc? Has anyone given at least some thought to this? Apparently not. Ambassador Jack Matlock, the war might have been prevented, probably would have been prevented if Ukraine had been willing to abide by the Minsk agreement, recognize the Donbass as an autonomous entity with Ukraine, avoid NATO military advisors, and pledge not to enter NATO." John Mearsmeyer, I know him. John Mearsmeyer, he's a famous YouTuber. The United States and its European allies share most of the responsibility for the crisis. The trap-up of the double is NATO enlargement. President Biden, quote, "This was never about genuine security concerns on their part. It was always about naked aggression, about Putin's desire for empire, by any means necessary, by building Russia's neighbors through coercion and corruption, by changing borders by force, and ultimately by choosing a war without a cause." NATO Secretary General Stoltenberg, "Weapons are the way to peace. Through Turkish intermediation, Russia and Ukraine reached an agreement. Russia will withdraw to its position on February 23rd, when it controlled part of the Donbass region and all of Crimea, and in exchange Ukraine will promise not to seek NATO membership and instead receive security guarantees from a number of countries." Boris Johnson came to Kiev with two messages. The first that, quote, "The first that Putin is a war criminal. He should be pressured, not negotiated with. And the second is that even if Ukraine is ready to sign some agreements on guarantees with Putin, the UK and the US are not. Quote, "The war in Ukraine can end only if, with Vladimir Putin's defeat, President Zelensky invoked a decree making it illegal to negotiate with Putin. Any political settlement will require the removal of Putin from power." You know what is missing right here in this timeline? The special military operation, the invasion of Ukraine. Because I'm not sure it was in 2022, yeah. But there's nothing there. So, yeah, the invasion maybe, yeah. Like 2022, the invasion, the great invasion, something like. And the second is that even if Ukraine is ready to sign some agreements or guarantees with Putin, the UKS and the US are not. What? So of course this is ridiculous. Why UK and US? What the hell Biden is saying here? It's all crazy, but maybe it's propaganda, maybe it's real. I guess it's real, I guess it's all real. I'm right here in Chile, dystopic land, a very dystopic land. So, and everybody loves the US here, and they don't know that this is a dystopic land. So, from that, just because of that fact that this is a dystopic land, I just believe in Russia, just Russia. The war in Ukraine can end only with Vladimir Putin defeat. President Zelensky invoked a decree making it illegal to negotiate with Putin. Any political settlement will require the removal of Putin from power. 2023, Victoria Nuland. I am, and I think the administration is very gratified to know that Nord Stream 2 is now, as you like to say, a hunk of metal at the bottom of the sea. The US, with the cooperation of Norway, had attacked the gas pipelines. Oh, so that's it. That will be the part 2 of the timeline. That will be a nice video, I guess. Now I'm gonna release Tommy. Tommy, go run, Tommy, run. You're American.